What if I told you that right now, as you're listening to this, a 4-year-old boy is dying in a hospital bed while his father gambles away his life-saving treatment money in Vegas? What if that same father has already taken out $10 million in life insurance policies on his own son? And what if the experimental drugs being pumped into that innocent child's veins aren't meant to cure him, but to kill him? This isn't fiction. This is the story of Sarah Mitchell, a mother who discovered her husband's betrayal went deeper than just an affair. While she held their son Jackson's hand in the ICU, counting each labored breath, her husband David was buying diamond jewelry for his pharmaceutical executive Mistress, with money stolen from their son's medical fund. But here's where it gets truly sinister. The Mistress wasn't just his lover. She was his business partner in a scheme so evil, it had already killed 17 children across 5 states. And Jackson was meant to be number 18. When Sarah tried to save her son, they had her committed to a psychiatric hospital. When she escaped, they tried to flee the country with Jackson as cargo, not to save him, but to sell him as a test subject to the highest bidder overseas. What would you do if everyone, the doctors, the police, even your own family, thought you were insane? How far would you go to save your child when the entire world is convinced you're the danger? In the next hour, you'll witness a mother's descent into a nightmare where love is currency, children are commodities, and the person who promised to protect you becomes your deadliest enemy. You'll discover how a grandfather's decades-old guilt becomes the key to salvation, how an FBI agent's personal vendetta uncovers a nationwide conspiracy, and how sometimes the only way to defeat a monster is to become something even more fierce, a mother with nothing left to lose. Stay with me for this story because I promise you this, by the end, you'll never look at a hospital the same way again. And you'll understand why Sarah Mitchell made a choice in the final moments that will haunt you long after this video ends. Before we dive into this incredible true story, if you appreciate content that exposes the darkness hiding in plain sight and celebrates the unbreakable strength of a mother's love, consider subscribing to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into stories that need to be told. And if this story moves you, which I know it will, please share it. Because somewhere out there, another mother might be facing her own impossible battle, and she needs to know she's not alone. Let's begin. Sarah Mitchell stood in the pristine kitchen of their Palo Alto mansion, her phone pressed against her ear as it rang for the 47th time. Outside, California sunshine mocked her growing panic. 4-year-old Jackson lay upstairs, his breathing labored despite the oxygen machine they'd rushed to install just 3 days ago. The diagnosis had come while David was at his medical conference in Vegas. Acute autoimmune disorder with complications. The specialist at Stanford Children's Hospital had been clear. Jackson needed immediate treatment, experimental but promising. The cost would exceed insurance coverage by nearly $200,000. "Come on, David, pick up," Sarah whispered, her free hand gripping the marble countertop. The call finally connected. Casino sounds flooded through the speaker before David's slurred voice emerged. "Sarah, it's 2 in the morning. It's 11 at night, David. Where are you?" "Conference after party." A woman's laugh echoed in the background. "Important networking." "Jackson's getting worse. We need to start treatment tomorrow. I need you to transfer the money from our emergency fund." "Can't this wait until morning?" Sarah's composure cracked. "Our son can't breathe properly, David. No, it can't wait." Fine, I'll handle it when I get back Tuesday." "Tuesday? The conference ended yesterday." The line went dead. Sarah set down her phone with trembling hands and opened their banking app. She had David's credentials. He'd given them to her years ago when she managed their finances. Her finger hovered over the emergency fund account they'd built together. $250,000 set aside for exactly this kind of crisis. The screen loaded. The balance showed $17.32. Her legs gave out. She slid down the cabinet to the floor, staring at the screen. There had to be a mistake. She refreshed the app. Same number. Checked the transaction history. Dozens of withdrawals over the past 3 months, all transferred to an account she didn't recognize. From upstairs, Jackson's coughing fit echoed through the baby monitor. Sarah forced herself to stand, to think. Their savings account, empty. Investment portfolio, liquidated last month without her knowledge. Even her own checking account, carefully maintained from her consulting work before Jackson was born, showed a zero balance. She dialed David again, straight to voicemail. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo appeared on screen. David at a roulette table, Ashley Harper draped over his shoulder, her pharmaceutical company badge visible on her designer dress. Stacks of chips covered the table. The timestamp showed 30 minutes ago. Sarah zoomed in on Ashley's wrist. A new tennis bracelet caught the casino lights, diamonds spelling out forever. Another text arrived, this time from David. "Stop calling, you're embarrassing me. We'll figure out Jackson's thing when I'm back." Jackson's thing. Their son's life reduced to an inconvenience, interrupting his Vegas adventure. Sarah climbed the stairs to Jackson's room, each step feeling like a mountain. Her son lay in his toddler bed, the Spider-Man sheets rising and falling with his struggled breathing. His little face, usually so animated, looked pale and drawn. "Mommy," he wheezed, "I'm here, baby." She sat beside him, smoothing his dark hair. "When's Daddy coming home?" "Soon," she lied, the word ash in her mouth. As Jackson drifted back to sleep, Sarah pulled up their insurance portal on her phone. Maybe there was something she'd missed, some coverage she hadn't explored. That's when she saw it. Their premium health insurance had been downgraded to basic coverage 6 weeks ago. The change authorization showed David's digital signature. Her phone rang. David. "Sarah, listen," he said, background noise gone, voice suddenly sober. "I know you're upset about the accounts." "Upset? You stole our son's medical fund." "I moved it temporarily. Business opportunity, it'll triple our money." "What business opportunity requires you to be at a casino with Ashley Harper?" Silence, then. "You're being paranoid. Ashley's just helping with a pharmaceutical investment. This is for our future, for Jackson's college fund. Jackson needs that money now, not for college he might not live to see without treatment." "Don't be dramatic. Kids bounce back from everything. The doctors always make it sound worse than it is." Sarah heard herself laugh, a sound she didn't recognize. "When did you become this person?" "I became the person keeping this family in the lifestyle you've grown accustomed to. That house, your car, Jackson's private preschool. I'd live in a cardboard box if it meant our son could breathe." "Well, maybe you'll get your wish," David snapped, "since you clearly don't appreciate anything I provide." The line went dead again. Sarah looked at Jackson, memorizing his face in the moonlight. Tomorrow she'd have to tell the hospital they couldn't afford to start treatment. Tomorrow she'd have to beg for payment plans, charity care, anything. But tonight she held her son's hand and made a promise. "I'll find a way, baby. Mommy will find a way." Her phone lit up with one final message from the unknown number. This time a video. David at the casino ATM withdrawing the maximum cash advance from their last credit card. Sarah deleted the video and dialed a number she hadn't called in years. "Helen Foster." "Helen, it's Sarah Mitchell. I need help." David's return from Vegas came with fanfare Sarah hadn't expected. He walked through the door Tuesday afternoon carrying Jackson's favorite stuffed dinosaur from the airport gift shop and wearing his best remorseful expression. "Where's my champion?" he called out, his voice carrying false cheer through their mansion. Sarah watched from the kitchen doorway as he bounded up the stairs to Jackson's room. She heard her son's weak but delighted squeal. "Daddy!" The sound twisted her heart. Jackson didn't know, couldn't know. 20 minutes later, David descended alone, his expression carefully composed. "He looks better than you made it sound. The steroids are masking the severity. They're temporary, David, without proper treatment." "I know." He moved toward her, arms outstretched. "Sarah, I'm sorry. Vegas was a mistake. The gambling, the drinking, I got carried away with the conference energy." She stepped back. "And Ashley Harper?" His face didn't change, the mark of a practiced liar. "Ashley was there for business. Her company's developing a new treatment that could help kids like Jackson. I was trying to get us early access." "By buying her diamond jewelry?" David's jaw tightened. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter? You emptied our accounts, David, everything." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she once found endearing. "Not everything. I have a plan. Mitchell Biotech stock is about to soar. The FDA approval we've been waiting for, it's coming through next week. I'll liquidate my shares and we'll have more than enough. You've been saying that for 3 months. This time is different. I have inside information. Sarah pulled out her phone, showing him an email from Stanford Children's Hospital. We have 72 hours to put down a $50,000 deposit, or they're giving Jackson's treatment slot to someone else. David took her hands, his wedding ring catching the light. She noticed it looked newly polished. Trust me, I'll handle this. Call my father if you need to, but I'll have the money by Friday. Your father? David, he's dying of cancer. He'd want to help his grandson. The callousness of it made her stomach turn, but she had no choice. That afternoon, she drove to Robert Mitchell's estate in Marin County. The retired federal judge looked frailer than when she'd last seen him at Christmas, but his eyes remained sharp. Sarah, he said from his library chair, setting aside legal briefs, you look like you haven't slept in days. She told him everything. The emptied accounts, Jackson's diagnosis, David's promises. Robert listened without interruption, his expression darkening with each revelation. How much do you need? He asked finally. 50,000 for the deposit, 200,000 total for the full treatment. Robert stood slowly, moving to his desk. I'll write you a check now, the full amount. Robert, I can't. You're not asking, I'm offering. Jackson is my only grandson. He paused while they were writing. Sarah, has David ever mentioned his first engagement? Sarah frowned. First engagement? No. Her name was Caroline, sweet girl, a teacher. She died in a car accident 3 years before he met you. Robert's pen stopped moving. Only it wasn't exactly an accident. She'd been drinking. And the reason she'd been drinking was that she'd just discovered David had been having an affair with her best friend. The room seemed to tilt. Why are you telling me this? Because patterns repeat. He handed her the check. Cash this immediately. Don't tell David until it's done. Sarah left with the check in a growing sense of dread. She deposited it at the bank, confirmed the funds were available, and scheduled Jackson's treatment to begin Monday. That evening, David was unusually attentive. He cooked dinner, helped with Jackson's medications, even read him a bedtime story. Sarah watched it all with new eyes, seeing performance where she once saw love. Her phone buzzed. Helen Foster. Found something? Can't discuss over phone. Meet tomorrow? David glanced over. Who's texting so late? Just the hospital confirming Monday's appointment. He smiled, pulling her close. See? Everything's working out. Dad came through, didn't he? She nodded against his chest, feeling his heartbeat and wondering if it had always been this cold. That night, she pretended to sleep while David slipped out of bed at 3 a.m. She heard him on the phone in his office, voice low but urgent. The transfer needs to happen before Monday. All of it. I don't care about the penalties. Sarah opened her laptop in the darkness, logging into their joint account. The 200,000 from Robert was there. She initiated an immediate transfer to a new account she'd opened that afternoon, one David didn't know about. The transfer would complete by morning. Whatever David was planning, he'd find empty accounts. Her phone lit up with an alert from their home security system. David was in the garage loading suitcases into his car. Not his Tesla, but the older BMW they rarely used. Sarah crept to Jackson's room, checking the locks on his windows, double-checking the baby monitor. She pulled up Helen's contact and typed, "Something's happening. David's trying to run." Helen's response was immediate. "Get Jackson and get out, now." But Sarah looked at her sleeping son, at the oxygen monitor, showing his fragile stability, and knew they were trapped. Jackson couldn't be moved without medical support. She heard the garage door close, David's footsteps on the stairs. Sarah returned to bed, forcing her breathing to remain steady as he slipped on back under the covers. "Sarah?" he whispered. She didn't respond. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. In the darkness, she saw the preview of Ashley's text. "Everything's ready. After Monday, we're free." Monday, Jackson's treatment day. The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. David wasn't planning to run. He was planning something worse. Monday arrived wrapped in coastal fog that seemed to press against the windows of Stanford Children's Hospital. Sarah hadn't slept since discovering David's text messages. She'd spent the weekend documenting everything, sending copies to Helen, and pretending normalcy for Jackson's sake. "Ready for your big day, Superman?" she asked Jackson as nurses prepared his pre-treatment IV. Will it hurt? His small voice carried the weight of too much medical experience for a 4-year-old. Just a little pinch, then you'll start getting better. David entered the room with coffee and his phone pressed to his ear. I understand the timeline. Just make sure the paperwork is filed before noon. He ended the call, flashing his corporate smile. How's our warrior? Daddy, look, I got a special bracelet. Jackson held up his hospital wristband. That's great, buddy. David barely glanced at it, already checking his phone again. Dr. Martinez entered with a team of specialists. Mr. and Ms. Mitchell were ready to begin. The initial treatment will take about 6 hours. One parent can stay. I'll stay, Sarah said quickly. Actually, David interjected, I think we should both be here for the first hour. Then I need to handle some urgent business. Family business, he added, looking at Sarah meaningfully. She knew that look. Play along or face consequences. Sarah nodded. As the medical team began Jackson's treatment, David pulled Sarah into the hallway. The FDA approval came through this morning. Mitchell Biotech stock is soaring. I need to get to the office to manage the announcements. Our son is starting chemotherapy, and you're worried about press releases? This windfall will set Jackson up for life. Best doctors, best care, anything he needs. He cupped her face with practiced tenderness. Trust me one more time. Sarah watched him leave, then called Helen. He's gone. Said something about FDA approval. There is no FDA approval, Helen said. I checked. Mitchell Biotech's application was rejected Friday afternoon. He's lying. Sarah, I'm sending you something. Check your email. Sarah opened the attachment. Screenshots of David's emails with Ashley Harper, dated 3 weeks ago. The subject line, Project Clean Slate. She read with growing horror. David had taken out a $5 million life insurance policy on Jackson 6 months ago. The policy had a specific clause. It paid double for certain medical conditions, including fatal reactions to experimental treatments. Her phone rang. Her mother. Sarah, honey, the strangest thing, a man from the bank just called about our house. Something about a lien? What? Mom, what exactly did they say? That David had co-signed our mortgage refinance last year, and now there's some kind of default? But we've never missed a payment. Sarah's blood went cold. Mom, don't sign anything. Don't talk to anyone. I'll call you back. She hung up and immediately checked her parents' mortgage information online. David had indeed co-signed, using his power of attorney that she'd granted him during her complicated pregnancy with Jackson. He'd then borrowed against their equity and defaulted intentionally. Her phone buzzed. 3 notifications in rapid succession. Credit card declined at the hospital pharmacy. Home security system offline. Email from her landlord. Eviction notice for non-payment. Wait, landlord? They owned their house. Sarah called their real estate attorney. After 10 minutes on hold, she learned the truth. David had sold their house to a shell company called MH Holdings 3 weeks ago, forging her signature. MH Holdings was registered to Ashley Harper's mother. She ran back to Jackson's room. He was sleeping peacefully, the IV drip delivering what she thought was life-saving medicine. Dr. Martinez was checking his vitals. Doctor, I need to know exactly what's in that IV. Standard pre-treatment protocol, immunosuppressants, anti-nausea medication, and the trial drug compound. Can I see the medication labels? Dr. Martinez looked confused but showed her. Sarah photographed everything, sending them immediately to Helen. Helen called within minutes. Sarah, 2 of those drugs aren't FDA approved for pediatric use. They're experimental compounds from Harper Pharmaceuticals. The combination could cause what? Cardiac arrest in patients with Jackson's specific markers. It would look like a tragic reaction to treatment. Sarah dropped the phone. They weren't trying to cure Jackson. They were trying to kill him. She lunged for the IV line, but a hand caught her wrist. Ashley Harper stood in the doorway, dressed in a pristine white coat with a hospital ID badge. Mrs. Mitchell, you seem distressed. Perhaps you should take a break. Her smile was predatory. Get away from my son. I'm consulting on Jackson's case. Doctor. Martinez requested my expertise. Ashley moved closer to Jackson's bed. Such a beautiful boy. So fragile. Sarah hit the emergency call button repeatedly. I want you out of this room. Emotional instability is common in parents facing their child's mortality, Ashley said calmly to the arriving nurses. Mrs. Mitchell has been showing signs of paranoia all week. Her husband warned us. That's not... She accused him of stealing money, of having affairs. Classic projection from someone overwhelmed by stress. Dr. Martinez returned, looking concerned. Mrs. Mitchell, maybe you should check those medications, Sarah shouted. She's trying to hurt Jackson. Mrs. Mitchell, please. You're frightening the other patients. Two security guards appeared. David was with them, his face a mask of concern. Sarah, honey, you're having an episode. Remember what happened after Jackson was born? The postpartum psychosis? I never had the delusions, the paranoia about someone trying to hurt the baby. It's happening again. He turned to Dr. Martinez. She stopped taking her medication. I should have noticed the signs. Sarah realized the trap too late. Every protest made her look more unstable. Every truth sounded like delusion. We've arranged for you to get help, David continued. Pacifica Psychiatric has a bed waiting. No, Sarah tried to reach Jackson, but the security guards restrained her. Please test those drugs. Call Helen Foster. She has proof. Helen Foster? David shook his head sadly. Doctor, Helen Foster was Sarah's roommate at her last psychiatric hospitalization. She doesn't exist outside Sarah's mind. The last thing Sarah saw before the sedative took effect was Ashley adjusting Jackson's IV drip, increasing the flow rate. Sarah awoke in a white room that smelled of industrial disinfectant and despair. Her wrist bore soft restraints, and her mouth felt cotton dry from whatever sedative they'd administered. Through the small window, she could see it was dark outside. How many hours had passed? How many critical hours of Jackson's life? Awake at last, a nurse said, checking her vitals. Doctor will be pleased. You've been out for 12 hours. 12 hours. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. My son. I need to call about my son. All in good time. Dr. Kellerman wants to evaluate you first. Dr. Kellerman arrived an hour later, a thin man with nervous eyes who kept glancing at his tablet. Mrs. Mitchell, your husband's very concerned. He says you've been off your medication for months. I've never been on psychiatric medication. Check my medical records. I have them here. He showed her the screen, a complete psychiatric history she'd never seen before, dating back 5 years. Hospitalizations that never happened, medications she'd never taken, all with her forged signature and David's authorization. These are fake. David created them. Mrs. Mitchell, denial is common. Call Stanford Children's Hospital. Check on Jackson Mitchell. Please. Kellerman sighed but made the call. Sarah watched his expression change. I see. Thank you. He set down the phone carefully. Your son experienced a serious reaction to treatment 3 hours ago. He's in intensive care. Sarah lunged against the restraints. Let me go. He needs me. Mrs. Mitchell, you're on a 72-hour psychiatric hold. I can't release you. Then call Helen Foster, 555-0198. Your husband mentioned this delusion. Helen Foster is real. Call the number. To her surprise, he did. The phone rang once, twice, then, Dr. Kellerman, this is Special Agent Helen Foster with the FBI. I've been expecting your call. Sarah saw Kellerman's face pale. He put the call on speaker. Doctor, you're holding my key witness in a federal investigation into David Mitchell and Ashley Harper. I need you to keep Sarah Mitchell safe, but do not, under any circumstances, let her husband know she's conscious. FBI, I don't understand. Harper Pharmaceuticals has been running illegal drug trials on terminal children. David Mitchell has been identifying targets through his biotech connections. Sarah Mitchell discovered this and contacted me 3 days ago. Her husband had her committed to silence her. Kellerman looked at Sarah with new eyes. The psychiatric history? Fabricated. We have the real records. Dr. Jackson Mitchell is being poisoned, not treated. Poisoned. If Sarah doesn't get to him soon, he'll die, and it will look like a tragic medical accident. I can't just release her. There are protocols. Then break them. A child's life is at stake. Kellerman hesitated, then began removing Sarah's restraints. There's a service exit in the basement. Shift changes in 20 minutes. Sarah grabbed his hands. Thank you. I'll be in the parking garage, Helen's voice continued. Black SUV, Sarah, we have one shot at this. 19 minutes later, Sarah slipped through the service exit wearing scrubs Kellerman had provided. Helen's SUV idled nearby. Sarah dove into the passenger seat. Jackson? She asked immediately. Alive. Barely. I've been monitoring through hospital contacts. They've moved him to a private room. David's there with Ashley and someone else. A lawyer, probably. Helen pulled out a tablet showing security footage. This is from 2 hours ago. Sarah watched David sign papers while Ashley adjusted Jackson's monitors. The lawyer was explaining something about accidental death benefits and expedited payment processing. They're going to kill him tonight, Sarah whispered. Not if we stop them. Helen handed her an earpiece. I've been investigating Ashley for 2 years. She's done this before. 3 children in Boston, 2 in Philadelphia. All died from unexpected reactions to her company's drugs. Why hasn't she been arrested? No proof, until now. Helen pulled up another screen. Remember the teddy bear camera you installed in Jackson's room last month? Sarah had forgotten. She'd put it there to watch Jackson when she was in another room. It's still recording? Every second, including David and Ashley discussing the murder plan yesterday. Helen played the audio, David's voice. How long after the final dose? Ashley. 6 hours. It'll look like organ failure from the underlying condition. David. And the insurance? Ashley. Pays out within 48 hours for pediatric deaths. 10 million split between us. Sarah's hands clenched. We have to go now. Wait. Helen handed her a small vial. From my contact at the FDA. It's the antidote to what they've been giving Jackson. One injection could save his life, but timing is critical. They drove toward Stanford, but Helen took an unexpected turn. Where are we going? Change of plans. They moved Jackson. Helen showed her a text. Private medical facility in Redwood City. Ashley's company owns it. Sarah's phone, which Helen had retrieved, buzzed with a message from David. If you want to say goodbye to Jackson, come alone to Bayside Medical. You have 1 hour. It's a trap, Helen said. I don't care. Jackson needs that antidote. Helen pulled over. Sarah, I need to tell you something. This isn't my first time dealing with David. Sarah turned to stare at her. Caroline, his first fiancée? She was my sister. The revelation hit Sarah like ice water. Your sister? The one who died? The one David killed. I could never prove it. He made her look unstable, just like he's doing to you. She called me that night, terrified, saying David had done something to her car. The police found brake fluid on his clothes, but he claimed he'd been trying to help her with car trouble earlier. Not enough evidence to prosecute. And you've been hunting him since, bro. When I heard he'd remarried, had a child, I tried to warn you. But you seemed so happy. Then 3 weeks ago, you called me. Sarah remembered now. The strange email she'd received with evidence of David's affairs. Signed only Orican, someone who cares. It had prompted her to start digging. That was you. Helen nodded. I'm sorry I couldn't save Caroline. I won't fail Jackson. They arrived at Bayside Medical, a small facility that looked more like an abandoned office building. Only a few windows showed light. FBI backup is 15 minutes out, Helen said, but Jackson might not have 15 minutes. Sarah took the antidote vial. Then I go now. Sarah, but she was already out of the car, running toward her son. The elevator to the 3rd floor felt like a descent into hell. Sarah clutched the antidote vial in her pocket, its small weight her only anchor to hope. The hallway stretched before her, fluorescent lights flickering like a horror movie set. Room 312 was at the end. She pushed open the door to find a scene that stopped her heart. Jackson lay still, too still, on the bed. David sat beside him, holding his hand with mock tenderness. Ashley stood by the IV stand, a syringe in her hand. Right on time, David said without looking up. We were just saying goodbye. Step away from him. Sarah's voice came out stronger than she felt. Ashley laughed. Or what? You'll call the police? The FBI? Oh, wait, you can't. You're an escaped psychiatric patient who's been threatening her family. Sarah moved closer, noting the security camera in the corner. Is it recording? Everything, David confirmed. How a delusional mother broke in here, attacked medical staff, and tragically caused her son's death by interfering with his treatment. Like Caroline's death was tragic? David's face darkened. Don't. Brake fluid on your clothes, David. She knew about Ashley, didn't she? Knew you were planning to leave her. Carolyn was unstable. Caroline was Helen Foster's sister. The silence that followed was electric. Ashley's hand trembled slightly. You're lying, David said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Helen's been investigating you for 3 years. She has everything. The other children Ashley's killed, the insurance fraud. Your father knows too. My father's dying. Your father's been documenting everything. Why do you think he's been calling me? Checking on Jackson. He's been building a case. David stood, his mask finally cracking. It doesn't matter. Jackson's already received the final dose. In about 10 minutes, his heart will stop. There's no antidote. Sarah pulled out the vial. Actually, there is. Ashley lunged for it, but Sarah was ready. She dodged, racing to Jackson's bedside. David grabbed her wrist, trying to wrestle the vial away. You think you've won? He snarled. Even if you save him, no one will believe you. I've spent months building your psychiatric history. Every doctor, every nurse thinks you're insane. Maybe, Sarah said, then louder. Hey, Jackson's Teddy. Remember the song Mommy taught you? David frowned. What are you? The itsy-bitsy spider went up the water spout, Sarah sang, staring directly at the teddy bear on the shelf, its hidden camera recording everything. Stop it, Ashley commanded, but Sarah continued. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. David followed her gaze to the bear. His face went white. He grabbed it, finding the tiny camera lens. It's been recording everything, Sarah said. Every visit, every conversation, every confession, including this one. Helen's voice came from the doorway. She stood with 3 FBI agents, weapons drawn. David Mitchell, Ashley Harper, you're under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. Ashley dropped the syringe. David released Sarah's wrist. Sarah immediately injected the antidote into Jackson's IV port. Within seconds, his color began improving. His eyelids fluttered. Mommy? Jackson's weak voice was the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. I'm here, baby. I'm here. As the FBI led David and Ashley away, David turned back. This isn't over. My lawyers will be interested to know about Caroline, Helen interrupted. In Boston, in Philadelphia, we have everything, David. 3 years of everything. Sarah held Jackson as medics checked his vitals, confirming the antidote was working. Her phone rang. Robert Mitchell. Sarah, I'm at Stanford. They said Jackson was moved? Robert, I'm sorry. David? I know. I've known for weeks. That's why I hired Helen. Sarah nearly dropped the phone. You hired her? After Caroline died, I suspected, but couldn't prove. When Jackson got sick and David started acting strangely, I reached out to Caroline's family. Found Helen. She'd become FBI to catch him. The money you gave me? Was marked, every serial number tracked. Led us right to Ashley's accounts. Sarah looked at Helen, who nodded. They'd all been playing a longer game than she'd realized. 3 days later, Sarah sat in a federal courthouse in San Francisco, Jackson safely recovering at Stanford under protective custody. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Janet Chen, laid out the evidence that had been building for years. Mrs. Mitchell, were you aware your husband had taken out multiple insurance policies on your son? Not until Helen showed me. $5 million from one company, $3 million from another, $2 million more from a third. $10 million total. And the beneficiary? Originally me, but changed to himself 3 weeks ago. Chen displayed the forged documents on a screen. Did you sign these change forms? No, that's not my signature. The deeper they dug, the more horrifying it became. David hadn't just planned to kill Jackson. He'd been systematically destroying Sarah's credibility for months, preparing for this moment. Every business trip had been carefully documented to establish her as an unfit mother. Every medical consultation for Jackson had actually been Ashley administering small doses of toxins to make him progressively sicker. The genius of it Chen explained during a break, was making Jackson's illness look natural. A rare autoimmune condition that would eventually require experimental treatment that would tragically fail. Helen joined them carrying a box of files. We found 3 more cases, children in Seattle, Miami, and Dallas. All received treatments from Harper Pharmaceuticals. All died within 6 months. Their parents? Sarah asked, though she feared the answer. One suicide, one in prison for allegedly shaking her baby. One institutionalized. Ashley didn't just kill children, she destroyed entire families. Sarah's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You think you've won? D. Helen immediately called tech support to trace it. Within minutes, they had their answer. David had somehow accessed a phone from his federal holding cell. How? Guard corruption, probably. We're investigating. That evening, Sarah visited Robert at his home. The old judge looked frailer, but somehow more at peace. I failed him, Robert said simply. After his mother died, I threw money at him instead of attention. When Caroline died, I chose to believe his lies because the truth was unbearable. You saved Jackson. No, Sarah. You saved Jackson. You fought when everyone said you were crazy. That takes a courage I didn't have 3 years ago. Robert pulled out a thick envelope. David's have been removed from my will. Everything goes to Jackson now, in a trust you'll manage. But there's something else you need to know. He handed her a photograph, a young woman holding a baby, standing next to a much younger Robert. My first wife, Margaret, and our daughter, Rebecca. They died in a car accident when Rebecca was 2. David never knew he had a half-sister. Sarah studied the photo. Rebecca looked remarkably like Jackson. I see it too, Robert said. The resemblance, it's like God gave me a second chance through Jackson. Don't let me waste it. You won't. Jackson asks about Grandpa every day. There's more, Robert continued. I've been investigating Mitchell Biotech. David wasn't just embezzling. He was selling patient data to Ashley's company. They were identifying vulnerable families, children with specific genetic markers that made them ideal test subjects. Sarah felt sick. How many? Dozens, maybe hundreds. The FBI is still counting. Her phone rang. Chen's voice was urgent. Sarah, David's escaped. The words didn't compute. What? How? Guard was paid off. David's gone. Ashley too. Someone posted their bail with cryptocurrency untraceable. We have teams searching, but Sarah dropped the phone. Through Robert's window, she saw a figure in the garden. David, standing under the oak tree, staring up at them. Robert reached for his desk drawer, pulling out a revolver. Call 911. But David wasn't approaching. He stood perfectly still, then held up his phone, typing something. Sarah's phone buzzed. Check on Jackson. Her blood froze. She called Stanford immediately. This is Sarah Mitchell. My son Jackson. Mrs. Mitchell, we've been trying to reach you. Jackson's missing. The room spun. What do you mean missing? A woman claiming to be your sister took him for tests. She had all the proper identification, knew all the security codes. Sarah was already running to her car, Robert close behind despite his frailty. Helen's voice crackled through her phone. We've got him on camera. David created a diversion while Ashley took Jackson. They're heading north. Where? Tracking now. Sarah, don't. But Sarah was already driving, Robert navigating from the passenger seat. His phone rang. Dad? David's voice filled the car through speaker. Did you really think you could replace me with him? David, please, Robert said. He's your son. He's my insurance policy. $10 million of freedom. Ashley has a buyer overseas. Experimental subjects bring premium prices. Sarah nearly drove off the road. You're selling him? I'm recouping my losses. You cost me everything, Sarah. My company, my reputation, my future. Jackson's the only asset I have left. He's not an asset. He's a child. Your child. David laughed. Sentiment is expensive. Ashley taught me that. We're entrepreneurs, Sarah. We identify opportunities and capitalize on them. Like you capitalized on Caroline's death? Silence. Then, Caroline was weak, like you, like Jackson. The weak exist to serve the strong. Robert spoke quietly. Your mother would be ashamed. My mother died giving birth to me. I never had a mother. You had Margaret. David's voice faltered. What? Your half-sister Rebecca, my first family. They died when you were 2. You don't remember, but Margaret raised you for 2 years. She loved you like her own. You're lying. Check your birth certificate, David, the real one. Margaret Mitchell is listed as your mother. I adopted you after my first wife died. Married your birth mother later. But Margaret was the only mother you knew. The silence stretched. Then David's voice smaller. She sang to me. Every night, you are my sunshine. You'd cry if she didn't. Sarah heard something break in David's voice. She left me. She died, David, in an accident. Not by choice. Everyone leaves, David said, his voice hardening again. Ashley's right. Love is just chemical manipulation. Jackson's better off without it. The line went dead. Helen's voice came through. Got them. Private airfield in Petaluma. Plane leaves in 30 minutes. Sarah floored it, taking the exit at dangerous speed. Robert gripped the door handle but said nothing. 20 minutes later, they screeched into the airfield. A small jet sat on the runway, engines running. Through the window, Sarah saw Ashley holding Jackson, who appeared unconscious. Sarah burst from the car before it fully stopped. The tarmac stretched between her and the jet like an ocean. Security guards moved to intercept her, but Robert's voice rang out with judicial authority. Federal warrant! Stand down! He had no warrant, but the guards hesitated. It was enough. Sarah sprinted past them toward the jet's stairs. Ashley appeared in the doorway, holding Jackson like a shield. One more step and I inject him, Ashley said, holding a syringe to Jackson's neck. Concentrated potassium chloride. His heart stops in seconds. Sarah froze. Ashley, please. You're not a monster. Aren't I? Ashley laughed bitterly. Do you know what it's like to grow up in foster care? To watch rich kids get experimental treatments while poor kids die? I'm just leveling the playing field. By killing children? By advancing medicine. Every child who died contributed to research that will save thousands. That's what you tell yourself? David appeared behind Ashley. It's what we know. Progress requires sacrifice. Then sacrifice yourself, Robert said, approaching slowly. If you believe so strongly, test on yourself. The young recover better, Ashley said. It's simple biology. It's murder, Helen's voice came from behind. She and 6 FBI agents had surrounded the plane. Engines off, now! Ashley pressed the syringe closer to Jackson's skin. A bead of blood appeared. I'll do it. No, you won't, Sarah said, understanding flooding through her. Because you need him alive. The buyer wants living subjects, not corpses. Kill him, and you get nothing. Ashley's hand shook. I'll find another child with Jackson's specific genetic markers? The ones that make him valuable? You said it yourself, he's 1 in a million. David stepped forward. Ashley, put the syringe down. Shut up, David. This is your fault. Your stupid sentimentality ruined everything. My fault? David's face darkened. You're the one who got sloppy in Philadelphia. As they argued, Sarah inched closer. Jackson's eyes fluttered open briefly. He saw her and tried to speak. Mommy, he whispered. The word cut through everything. Ashley looked down at him, and for a moment, Sarah saw something human flicker in her eyes. My mother sold me when I was 6, Ashley said quietly, to men who said they were doctors. They weren't. Ashley, Sarah said gently, I'm sorry, no child should experience that. They said it was for the greater good, that my pain would help other children. They lied. So why are you doing the same thing? Ashley's grip on the syringe loosened slightly. Because if I control it, I can make it mean something. Or you can stop it right now. Be the person 6-year-old Ashley needed. For a moment, the world balanced on a knife's edge. Then David grabbed for Jackson. Enough of this. Ashley reacted instinctively, the syringe swinging toward David. He jerked back, stumbling down the jet's stairs. In that instant of chaos, Sarah lunged forward, grabbing Jackson while Helen's team moved in. The syringe fell from Ashley's hand, shattering on the tarmac. She didn't resist as agents cuffed her. She looked broken, younger suddenly, like the child she'd never been allowed to be. David tried to run, but didn't get far. Robert stood in his path, the old judge still commanding despite his illness. You're not my father. David spat. No, Robert said sadly. A father would have seen what you were becoming and stopped it. I failed you, David, but I won't fail Jackson. As the FBI led David and Ashley away, David turned back one last time. Sarah, you've destroyed everything. No, David, you destroyed everything. I just survived it. Jackson clung to Sarah's neck, very much alive and breathing on his own. Mommy, can we go home? Sarah looked at their house in the distance, the house David had sold, the life he'd demolished. We'll make a new home, baby. A better one. Helen approached, holstering her weapon. The buyer's been arrested too. International trafficking ring. You two just helped us close a 5-year investigation. What happens to Ashley? She'll testify against the ring in exchange for reduced charges. 25 years instead of life. And David? Multiple life sentences. No parole. Sarah felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. It's over. Not quite, Robert said. He pulled out his phone, showing a bank alert. David had one more surprise. He transferred Mitchell Biotech's research to a competitor this morning. The company's worthless now. Sarah's heart sank. The fortune Robert had promised Jackson was gone. However, Robert continued with a small smile, I anticipated this. I've been quietly buying shares in that competitor for weeks. As of an hour ago, I own controlling interest. The patents, the research, everything David tried to steal now belongs to Jackson's trust. Robert, I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me use it correctly. Create that foundation you mentioned. Help children who really need it. Sarah nodded, tears flowing freely. Yes. 2 weeks passed in a blur of legal proceedings and medical appointments. Jackson grew stronger each day, the toxins finally leaving his system. Sarah had moved them into a small apartment in Palo Alto, refusing Robert's offer of his mansion. They needed to rebuild on their own terms. The trial preparations revealed the full scope of David and Ashley's crimes. Chen called Sarah daily with updates, each more horrifying than the last. We found Ashley's lab, Chen said during one call, hidden in a Harper Pharmaceuticals subsidiary. The evidence there, Sarah, it's going to put away dozens of executives. How did no one notice? They did. Whistleblowers kept disappearing. We found 3 bodies so far. Sarah set down her coffee, nausea rising. Ashley killed whistleblowers? David did. We have proof. He was the cleanup crew. Ashley identified threats. David eliminated them. Caroline wasn't his first. No, she was his 4th that we know of. That evening, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. Beatrice Mitchell, David's mother, stood at her apartment door. The woman who'd been cold and distant throughout Jackson's illness looked broken. May I come in? Sarah hesitated, then stepped around. Beatrice entered, her usual designer clothes replaced with simple black. I knew, Beatrice said without preamble. About David. Not everything, but enough. Sarah said nothing, waiting. When he was 7, he killed our neighbor's cat, said it was an experiment. I told Robert it was childhood curiosity. When he was 12, a classmate fell downstairs after an argument with David. I said it was coincidence. When Caroline died, her voice broke. You knew he killed her. I suspected, but he was my son, my only son. I thought if I loved him enough, he'd change. Love doesn't cure psychopath. No, it enables it. Beatrice pulled out an envelope. This came to my lawyer yesterday. David's trying to claim insanity, says I abused him, created his pathology. Sarah read the document. David's defense was painting him as a victim of generational trauma. Did you? Sarah asked directly. I neglected him, Beatrice admitted. After Robert told me about his first family, I resented David for not being truly mine. But abuse? No. The truth is worse. I ignored what he was because I didn't want to see it. Why tell me this? Because I need you to testify. Tell them I was a cold mother, but not an abusive one. Don't let him use lies to escape justice. Sarah saw the desperation in her eyes. I'll tell the truth, whatever that means for you. Beatrice nodded and left without another word. That night, Jackson had his first nightmare-free sleep in months. Sarah watched him breathe easily, no machines, no medications. Her phone buzzed with a text from Helen. Check the news. Sarah turned on her laptop. The headline made her gasp. Mitchell biotech whistleblower found dead in federal protection. She called Helen immediately. Who? Marcus Chen. He was going to testify about the company's illegal human trials. Found hanging in his safe house. Suicide? Staged. David still has people on the outside. Sarah, you and Jackson need protection. We have it. Not enough. There's something else. We found David's real financials. He has millions hidden offshore we can't touch. He's using it to fund operations from prison. Sarah looked at Jackson, sleeping peacefully. Then we disappear. That's not living, Sarah. Neither is constantly looking over our shoulders. A knock at the door interrupted them. Sarah peered through the peephole. A delivery man with a package. I didn't order anything. Package for Jackson Mitchell. Signature required. Something felt wrong. Sarah didn't open the door. Leave it outside. I need a signature. Leave it or take it back. The man hesitated, then set down the package and left. Sarah watched through the window as he got into an unmarked van and drove away. She called the bomb squad. 2 hours later, the captain confirmed her instincts. Not a bomb, but close. Powdered ricin in a spring-loaded container. Opening it would have been fatal. Sarah made a decision. She called Chen. I want to visit David. Absolutely not. I need to face him. With guards, cameras, everything recorded. I need him to know he hasn't broken me. Chen sighed. I'll arrange it. The federal detention center felt like descending into hell's waiting room. Sarah passed through 7 security checkpoints, each more thorough than the last. Chen walked beside her, along with Helen and 2 federal marshals. He doesn't know you're coming, Chen said. We want his genuine reaction. They entered a stark room divided by bulletproof glass. David sat on the other side in orange jumpsuit and shackles, looking surprisingly well-groomed. His expression when he saw Sarah was worth the trip. Shock, then rage, then something like amusement. Hello, darling, he said into the phone. You look tired. Sarah picked up her receiver. Attempted murder by ricin, David? That's desperate, even for you. I don't know what you mean. I'm in solitary confinement. How could I possibly? Your network's been compromised. We have them all. David's smile didn't waver. Do you? All of them? Are you certain? Marcus Chen is dead because of you. Marcus Chen is dead because he was weak, like you'll be when, eventually. Sarah leaned forward. I came here to tell you something. Jackson's thriving. Your father's fortune ensures he'll never want for anything. Your company's been reformed into a children's medical foundation. Everything you built now serves the people you tried to destroy. David's jaw tightened. Temporary. Everything's temporary. Including you. Your execution date's been set. That was a lie, but David's face paled. What? Federal prosecutors seeking death penalty. Caroline, the whistleblowers, the children. Texas has agreed to take the case if California won't execute. You know Texas loves their death row. You're lying. Sarah pulled out a document, pressing it against the glass. A motion for capital punishment with Chen's signature. David's composure finally cracked. You can't. I have information. I can trade. Ashley already traded, gave us everything. You have nothing left to bargain with. I have money, millions hidden. In accounts we've frozen, Singapore, Cayman Islands, Switzerland, we have them all. That was partly true. They'd found most, but not all. David's hands trembled. Jackson's my son. You can't. Jackson doesn't know you exist. I've told him his father died, which is true in every way that matters. David lunged at the glass. Guards restrained him as he screamed, He'll know. I'll make sure he knows what you are, what you did. Sarah stood calmly. What I did was save our son from his monster of a father. Goodbye, David. As she walked away, David's shouts echoed. This isn't over. You hear me? I'll destroy you from hell if I have to. Outside, Helen put a hand on Sarah's shoulder. You okay? Actually, yes. Seeing him like that, trapped, powerless, it's closure. Chen's phone rang. She answered, her face growing grave. Ashley Harper's dead. Sarah stopped walking. What? How? Suicide, real this time. Left a note confessing everything. Named 17 more victims we didn't know about. Helen whistled low. She couldn't live with it. Or couldn't live in it. Why? Chen corrected. David won't last either. His type never does well in isolation. 2 days later, Chen's prediction nearly came true. David attempted suicide but was resuscitated. He was placed on 24-hour watch, denied even the escape of death. Sarah received one final letter from him, somehow smuggled out. Sarah, you think you've won, but Jackson carries my genetics. One day he'll show his true nature. When he does, remember, remember, you chose to let him live. Every person he hurts will be on your conscience. My legacy lives through him. Sarah burned the letter. Jackson was nothing like David. Love, real love, would make sure of that. Robert called that evening. The foundation papers are ready. We're calling it the Caroline Foster Foundation. Helen's sister. Perfect. Helen will run it. You'll oversee Jackson's trust and have a board position if you want it. I want something else first. Name it. A normal life. For a year, maybe 2. Jackson needs to be a kid. I need to be just his mom. Done. The foundation will wait. 2 years later, Sarah stood in a different courtroom, this one filled with sunlight streaming through tall windows. Jackson, now 6 and vibrant with health, sat in the gallery between Robert and Helen, coloring quietly in a dinosaur book. The adoption is granted, the judge declared. Jackson Mitchell is now legally Jackson Foster Mitchell, with full inheritance rights as specified by Robert Mitchell. It had been Robert's idea, officially making Sarah and Jackson family in every legal sense, erasing any claim David might ever attempt from prison. Outside the courthouse, a small celebration waited. Parents of children saved by the Caroline Foster Foundation they had gathered. In 2 years, they'd funded treatment for 300 children and exposed 4 more companies running illegal trials. Miss Sarah, a young girl ran up, hugging Sarah's legs. Lucy, one of their first saves. Is Jackson coming to my birthday? Wouldn't miss it, Sarah promised. As the crowd dispersed, Helen approached with a tablet. You need to see this. The headline read, David Mitchell found dead in cell. Sarah felt nothing. No relief, no sadness, just emptiness. Suicide? Murder. Apparently he owed the wrong people money even from prison. It's over then. There's more. He left something. A video confession. Full details of every crime, including ones we didn't know about. He names 30 more victims. Sarah looked at Jackson, playing with Lucy and other survivor children. Why confess? The video's timestamp is from last week, before he knew someone wanted him dead. I think he was planning to use it as leverage for a deal. Robert joined them, reading over their shoulders. His cancer was in remission. Modern medicine giving him time David had tried to steal. Let the dead bury the dead, he said quietly. We have the living to tend to. That evening, Sarah tucked Jackson into bed in their modest but warm apartment. The millions in his trust would wait until he was old enough to use them wisely. Mom, tell me about Dad again. Sarah had crafted this story carefully with her therapist. Your father got very sick in his mind. It made him do bad things, but before he got sick, he helped create you, and you're the best thing in my world. Is his sickness in me? The question she dreaded. No, baby. You have his smart brain, but my big heart. That makes you special, not sick. Jackson seemed satisfied. Can Helen come to dinner tomorrow? Of course. And Grandpa Robert? Him too. Good. I like our family. Our family. Chosen, fought for, earned through fire. After Jackson fell asleep, Sarah sat on her tiny balcony looking at the stars. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Her blood chilled, then she read it. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm David's cellmate from before he died. He asked me to tell you something if anything happened to him. He said, tell Sarah she was right. Abe was the monster. Don't let Jackson become me. I thought you should know he seemed human at the end. Sarah deleted the message. David's last manipulation or genuine moment of clarity. She'd never know. It didn't matter. Helen appeared with 2 glasses of wine, having used her spare key. Big thoughts. Just gratitude. You gave up everything to catch him. I got my sister justice. That's not giving up. It's gaining peace, Mama. They sat in comfortable silence. Two women who'd walked through hell and emerged scarred, but whole. The foundation got a donation today, Helen said. Anonymous, $50 million. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Anonymous? Traced back to offshore accounts. David's hidden money somehow redirected. The donor note said, for the children who deserved better fathers. Sarah thought of Ashley, dead by her own hand. Had she managed one good deed before the end? Or was there another player they'd never identified? We'll never know, will we? Does it matter? 50 million saves a lot of kids. Jackson coughed in his sleep, a normal cough that once would have terrified Sarah. Now she simply listened, smiled when it stopped, and returned to her wine. I'm thinking of going back to school, Sarah said. Law degree. Chen thinks I'd make a good prosecutor. You would. David created a warrior. Might as well use it. As midnight approached, Helen stood to leave. Sarah, can I tell you something? Always. Carolyn would have loved you. You're the sister she should have had. Sarah hugged her tight. She has you. That's enough. After Helen left, Sarah checked on Jackson one more time. He'd kicked off his blankets, arms spread wide in fearless sleep. She covered him gently, kissing his forehead. In his hand, clutched tight, was a photo from court today. Their new family, Sarah, Jackson, Robert, and Helen. No shadows in the frame, no monsters lurking. Just love, hard-won and honest. Sarah returned to her room and opened her laptop. A message waited from Chen. Bar exam prep course starts Monday. See you there. She smiled, typing back, see you there. The past was gone. David was gone. The fear was fading. Tomorrow, Jackson had a play date. Next week, kindergarten started. Next month, the Foundation's annual gala. Life. Real, messy, beautiful life. They'd earned every minute of it. As Sarah drifted to sleep, she thought she heard David's voice one last time, faint as a whisper. You won. No, she said to the darkness. We survived. And in the morning, they'd do what survivors do. They'd live. The Harvard Law graduation ceremony buzzed with pride and accomplishment. Sarah Foster Mitchell adjusted her cap, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. There, Jackson, now 16, tall and brilliant, cheering louder than anyone. Robert, 80 but sharp, tears in his eyes. Helen, graying but graceful, recording everything. Sarah Foster Mitchell, magna cum laude, special recognition for work in victims' rights advocacy. As she walked across the stage, Sarah thought of the journey. 3 years of night school while raising Jackson. Countless hours studying while he did homework beside her. The bar exam passed on first try. Chen waited backstage. Ready for the DA's office? Ready. Oh, later at the celebration dinner, Jackson raised a toast. To my mom, who taught me that monsters are real, but heroes are stronger. He didn't know the full story. Someday when he was ready, Sarah would tell him about his father, his survival, the foundation built on saved lives. But tonight was for joy. Robert pulled Sarah aside. I have maybe a year left. Cancer's back. Sarah gripped his hand. We'll make it count. Already have. Watch. He called Jackson over. I'm retiring from the foundation. You're both taking over. Jackson, you'll learn the business side. Sarah, the legal. Together, you'll save more children than I ever dreamed. Jackson's eyes widened. Grandpa, I'm only 16. Your mother was only 32 when she fought the devil and won. You're ready. That night, Sarah found a package at her door. No return address. Inside, a USB drive and a note. The rest of David's victims, do what's right. A friend. Sarah plugged it in, hundreds of files. Names, dates, crimes they'd never suspected. She called Helen. How many years until the statute of limitations runs out? For murder? Never. Then we have work to do. As she began reading, Jackson appeared in her doorway. Mom, you okay? She looked at her son. Kind, brilliant, nothing like David despite sharing his DNA. Just getting ready for tomorrow's fight. Can I help? Sarah smiled. Always. They worked until dawn, mother and son, building justice from the ashes of evil. The war was over, but the mission, protecting the innocent, seeking justice, choosing love over fear that would continue as long as they drew breath. David had been wrong about one thing. His legacy wasn't Jackson. His legacy was the army of warriors his evil had created, and they would never stop fighting.